Good morning from day 6 of my Heart of Wales Line trail. Very wet night last night, but as forecast the day is good and I've woken up to a cloud inversion in the valley below, which is wonderful to see. The sun is I think it's risen now, just isn't on me. I'm looking at Trichrug, which is behind the camera, and the sun will be coming up from behind there. My plan today is to walk as far as I can, really, to make it a shorter day tomorrow. And some highlights along the way: Craven Castle, which I visited on the Beacons Way, and then the hills above Pontarddulais, which I'm looking forward to as well. So it's just after 7 o'clock. Gonna head on now and then stop in about an hour or so for breakfast. Takes a different type of mindset to backpack day after day after day. When I say backpack, I mean sleeping in a tent and wild camping in particular. I realised last night that I set myself a little record. Glyndwr's Way, I wild camped for 4 nights consecutively, and last night was my 5th wild camp consecutively, so little record for me. But the key thing, I suppose, is this time I'm doing it in late September and having to contend with heavy dews, permanently wet feet because of the long grass, and last night in particular the rain was quite challenging. So people often say to me, well, where do you shower? How many pants do you take? How many t-shirts do you take? And the answer is you don't. You don't shower. You don't take spare pants. You don't take spare t-shirts. You certainly don't take spare socks, other than dry socks for the tent, to keep yourself dry and warm when you get to a tent. And you put up with the sort of harder times for the memories that you will have permanently. So my motto is, smell is temporary, memories are permanent. And as I say that, I'm looking at Craven Castle popping out of the mist, so I'm going to try and get a video shot of that now. Beautiful, isn't it? I really like that shot of the castle with the mist. So, whilst I've got a bit of road walking to do, let me tell you what my plans are in relation to finishing this trail. So, as we speak, it is the 29th of September, and in the last week, many of southern Wales areas, counties, have gone into a restricted lockdown. That doesn't mean that people can't do things, it just means they can't leave their areas. It also means people can't enter their areas. So what can people do? Well, they can still gather in groups of 30 outside. They can still go to the pub. They can still go to work, although the recommendation is to work from home if possible. People can still go to leisure centres and gyms. So there's lots of things that people can still do. But it says that I cannot enter an area unless I have a reasonable excuse, and I can make an essential journey. So, on the basis that I am away from home and have been for some time, and these restrictions came in whilst I was away, it is an essential journey for me to get home. Is it a reasonable excuse, therefore, to enter the areas in question? My case here is that it is. But I'm also very aware that Llanelli in particular was the first area to be put into, one of the first areas this week to be put into a restricted lockdown. And I don't really want to go there, if I'm honest. Now, the route that the Heart of Wales Line trail follows to get into Llanelli goes via the Millennium Coastal Path. It's a beautiful path. and follows the shores of the Lough with great views over the Gower. And then at the very last minute it heads north to get to the train station. Well, if I continue walking west approximately 7 miles, I can come to Buryport, and that's in Carmarthenshire. So the regulations say that you can travel through an area. So travelling through, I'll travel through on foot, through the restricted area of Llanelli. I will then travel through to Carmarthenshire, get on a train at Buryport, and then travel through on the train back home. I've also got to travel through the county of Swansea to get to the area of Llanelli, because that's an area that's also been put into a restricted lockdown as well. So that's my plan. I think it's reasonable. It means I get to finish the trail, albeit I won't walk to the train station for the last half a mile or so, but I'll walk on to Buryport instead. So about 7 miles in, that's about the longest I've walked before I've had breakfast, and as you can see behind me, I've got my tent out to dry. It was such a wet night, or wet late evening yesterday, and then a really heavy dew, that the fly sheet was wet both on the outside and the inside, and despite it being Dyneema and me wiping it down, it needs to be aired. So hence it's in the sun, and there's not much of a wind today, so slight sway, but it is drying quite well, so I'm pleased with that. I've got this morning's breakfast was one I bought in Llandovery, so it's a Co-op own porridge pot ×2. I think it's the golden syrup flavour one this morning, and a cup of coffee. So that's breakfast, but I'm quite pleased with the mileage so far. And it's a lovely day, really is a lovely day with special views. Ammanford. I didn't show much of it because I've put the hammer down really this morning. I'm 14 miles now and it's just 12:30. So went down the high street, saw a Greg's, thought that'll do. So another slice of pizza and a cup of coffee. And I've got 34k on this route to do. That's 21 miles, which includes going into Llanelli, of course. Now I know what I said. I know what I said was my plan. I don't want to go into Llanelli, but I don't particularly want to walk in heavy rain tomorrow either, or camp in it overnight. So I'm just going to hang that out there. Is it possible to do 21 miles and get a late train home? We'll find out. The lure of the finish. So I've passed through Pontar Dilais, It was really busy, that's why I didn't do much filming there. I think one of the schools was kicking out and I didn't want to be filming when there's children around. So from here it's 12.5 miles to the finish and it's 3:10. The last train is at 9:15, but that's from Llanelli. I'm not sure the maths stacks up and allows me to get to Buryport. I want to, but I think I want to finish now. So 12.5 miles alongside the River Lucker. I'm taking the low tide route, which is what I wanted to do as well. Shortly to pass under the M4 and then down to the Lucker Bridge following the shores of the River Lucker, which I've seen so many times when driving over the river from the motorway. So I'm averaging 2.8 miles an hour. I've pushed that up from 2.6. That's overall, that includes stops. So when I need to get into challenge walk pace, I can, even with a full backpack on. Yeah, lure of the finish is going to get me there, I think. This is the churchyard of Llanelli, Talabont. So you've still got graves left on the shores of the River Lucker. But this church was removed stone by stone and taken and re-erected in St Fagans. So if you ever go to St Fagans and see that church, this is where it came from. So I'm approaching the end of the Heart of Wales Line Trail, and I've enjoyed this one. Been different. Not met one other person walking the trail. I've only met 4 recreational walkers, and that was 2 couples in mid Wales. So if you want solitude, I would suggest this is a trail for you. It's immaculately waymarked. It's well maintained. So thank you to the volunteers who have been doing all the work to waymark it and ensure that it's passable. And if you don't want to backpack it in one go like I have, despite the fact that the trains don't run that often, I think it's 2 or 3 a day at the moment, there are opportunities to break the route up by making use of trains and doing linear walks by linking back in with cars and trains. So that's a good way of doing it. Plenty of accommodation along the way, and I quite like the way they've spaced out, the planners have spaced out the visiting of towns. Brings money to the local economy as well, so yeah, all good. You see me today go from plan A to plan B at the click of a finger. And I think the driving force was, I really didn't fancy the rain tomorrow. And when I got to Pont de Vilais, just about 2:30, and bearing in mind that's where I planned to get to before I then walked on, I thought I might as well have a crack at finishing this walk, so that's what I've done. It's only a mile or so now to the train station, and I bought my train ticket to get myself home. Extra 7 miles I think it is to Buryport. It's just too much for me to do this evening, so hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. And see you on the next adventure.